But this guy, you have it all, right? You have the button, you have the flipper, and both thumb stud and reverse flick deployment. So you really can't go wrong with this guy. It just has so much going for it. This one is in the satin finish, this one's in the stone wash. I mean, I often debate when I'm buying a knife which one I like the most out of the two. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. Today we're going to be reviewing the Sencut Sachse, and this one is a very sexy knife. Bruh. All right, lame jokes aside, I am super excited to share with you guys everything about this knife, all the feedback, everything I've been able to gather over the last couple of weeks. This is a very fidgety EDC, to say the least. It has 4 different deployment options. You got the button, of course. It is a button lock after all. You got the flipper, yeah, right there, right? Nice flipper action. You got the thumb deployment, right? So that's always nice to have. Last but not least, my favorite, the reverse flick. Boom. Just like that. Take a look at that. Bam, 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 bam. All right, one last time. Bam. Fair measure. There it is, guys. Well, let's do a quick comparison here to some of the knives that we always check in the channel here next to the Paramilitary 2 right there. Gonna be very comparable, almost the same size, but the PM2 being a little bit bigger. The Para 3 right here is gonna be a little bit smaller compared to the Sachse, but that gives you an idea right there. Let's compare it also. Let's throw in one more Spyderco. Here we go. The Smock. Spyderco Smock right there. I want to say almost as long as the Spyderco Smock. The Smock has a little bit of a longer handle right there, right? But again, that kind of gives you a little bit of a comparison. All right, let's do a few other ones as well. Right here next to the Demko Brothers, AD 20.5, that is the shark's foot. This one is the clip point blade right there. That gives you an idea. I want to say very comparable in size, right, to the clip point variant right here. Of course, the shark's foot blade is always going to be a little bit shorter in overall length. But again, some nice comparisons right there, size comparisons to give you a ballpark idea. Of course, you knew it was going to be here, the Sencut Crawley, right, the brother from Sencut. The Crawley, also a very fidgety EDC. The review on this guy should be live on the channel already, so check it out if you haven't already. And of course, the CJRB Pyrite, another very fidgety EDC. Review for that one also live on the channel. If you want to check it out after this video, you certainly can. But again, that also gives you a good size comparison idea there. Last but not least, here's the Wrap Model 1. And here's the Wrap Model 2, right? So it definitely gonna be closer to, I don't know, it's definitely in the middle. I can't even say if it's closer to one versus the other, right? It's gonna be somewhere in the middle between the Wrap Model 1 and the Wrap Model 2. You guys be the judge of that right there. This thing, just like I said with the Crawley review, this thing is pretty much the same as the Crawley, right? It is awesome, very fidgety action right here with all those 4 deployment options I went over earlier. So what do we got going on here for this guy? We have a satin finish blade right there. This is a drop point blade right there. This one is rocking a 9CR18 MOV steel. A very common budget steel for this price range. By the way, this guy comes in around $45 to $50, right? Same range as the Sencut Crawley. Pretty much everything that I said about the Crawley on the Crawley review is pretty much what I'm going to end up saying for the Sachse during this review, because these two, not only are they siblings from the same manufacturer for the same brand, but as far as the fidgetability, there's your word for the day. As far as the fidgetability, they both go a long way, and they're so satisfying to deploy. They're so satisfying to EDC. There was even a time where I had this in my pocket and I had to force myself to switch over to a different knife just because of how solid, how comfortable, how satisfied I was daily carrying this knife for almost weeks at a time, right? I just kind of want to put that into perspective. All right, let's now compare here as far as length and height on the pocket here, right? Back with the Model 2, back with the Model 1. It compares a lot to the Model 1 because of how thick this blade is, right? Definitely a much thicker blade right there, much more comparable to the Wrap Model 1, as you can see right there. Back with the Crawley and Pyrite, I want to say somewhat close to both. Both the Pyrite and the Crawley are going to be slimmer than the Sachse. Next to the Demko Brothers right there, regardless of blade shape, they're both going to be, I believe, a little bit wider than the Sachse, just because of how that blade folds in and how much it sticks out of the handle when folded. And last but not least, here are the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3 right there. Obviously, the Spydercos are going to be much more wider on the pocket when folded, when tucked away, because of the Spidey hole. But it's not always the case, right? Check it out here next to the Spyderco Smock, which has a slightly different design. The Spidey hole is a lot smaller, and therefore it is a much thinner knife compared to the Sachse right there. All right, let's do a quick carry profile. Here it is next to the Wrap Model 1, right? Very comparable to the Wrap Model 1 compared to the Wrap Model 2. And the Wrap Model 2 is going to be much smaller right there, as you can see. The wrap model 2. The wrap model 2 is going to be a lot slimmer right there, as you can see. Here's the brother, the Crawley on the right, Sachse on the left, right? Very comparable. CJRB Pyrite is going to be a little bit slimmer. Demco AD 20.5 is going to be a little bit slimmer as well. PM2, very comparable, although a little bit thicker than the PM2. Para 3, right, compared to the Para 3, just a hair thicker than the Para 3. And last but not least, the Smock. Spyderco Smock is, yeah, definitely going to be a little bit thicker than the Smock as well. Something that I really like about this guy is the satin finish. I gotta say, me personally, I love stonewash and I love satin finishes, right? So that's why I'm glad that this one is in the satin finish, this one's in the stonewash. I mean, I often debate when I'm buying a knife which one I like the most out of the two, but honestly, you can't go wrong with either or. I like kind of sort of the flare, the shine of the satin finish right here on the right versus a stonewash. Sometimes the stonewash you really can't go wrong with most of the time, but that is up to you for preference. So if you're leaning more towards satin finish, then the Sachse here on the right is going to be the way to go. If you're leaning more towards stonewash, then the Crawley right here on the left is going to be the way to go for you. And I'm trying to think of what else I wouldn't necessarily like about this guy. There's so much that this guy has going for it that it just checks a box for me, right? I love the fidgetability, like I mentioned earlier, right? For me, an EDC knife could also be a knife that, you know, you use obviously for daily cutting tasks, but, you know, has that fidgety factor to it. You could just sit there and just kind of play around with it a little bit in a safe way, of course, and it kind of satisfies that fidgetability itch that most of us have. So this is the Civivi button lock, right? Civivi, Sencut, sister brands, all under the We Knife umbrella. All right, what they did with the button lock, and you probably remember that from the button lock review, check it out if you haven't already, by the way, is that the only deployment option on this guy is the button, right? So button to open, button to close, and that was about it, right? Now they did make a newer version of this guy which also has a flipper, so then you will have flipper and button deployment. But this guy, you have it all, right? You have the button, you have the flipper, and both thumb stud and reverse flick deployment. So you really can't go wrong with this guy. It just has so much going for it, right? You would also compare this guy to, let's say, the Pyrite. It's so close to the Pyrite. This is probably going to be a different video as far as my top fidgety knives of all times, and all of these button locks are definitely going to be on that video. Spoiler alert. But yeah, something that it has over the Pyrite is it has the flipper, right? I really wish my Pyrite had a flipper here. That would just completely make the Pyrite perfect for me if it had a flipper as well as a button and thumb and reverse flick deployment. And this guy has all four of them. So I mean, that's something to keep in mind if you're really looking to get the best bang for your buck, right? If you're looking to get the most fidgetability out of the $50 or so you're going to be spending on this guy, this is it right here. Crawley or Sachse from Sencut, right? Can't go wrong with these guys. I honestly can't recommend them enough, if I'm being honest. That being said, guys, if you made it this far into the video, you guys are the real MVPs. Don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, by the time you're watching this video, it's very possible that the review for the Spyderco Para Military 2 will be out. So if that's the case, I'll put a card right here for you guys to check it out. I love my PM2. It's such an awesome EDC. So if you want to check out that review next, go for it. Thank you guys for all your support. I love y'all. Take care. Peace.